What's the scariest space fact mystery in your opinion? A few people have said this, but just the size of space is creepy to me. That far away. But what almost depresses me more that unlike in Stargate I will never be able to travel to any of it. Would love to see what's out there. Not scary exactly. More unfortunate, if anything. But we'll probably never be able to properly communicate with alien species. Given the amount of distance between the planets of our solar system, I'd assume the distance to other universes and galaxies is too far to think about right now. If we receive and send a message right now, by the time we hear a reply back, we would probably be a completely different government and societal system. We would just be constantly introducing ourselves. Here's one closer to home. The Kessler effect is the theory that a single destructive event in low Earth orbit could create a cascade where satellites break up into tiny fragments, taking out other satellites, breaking up into smaller fragments, and so on, until the Earth is completely surrounded by a massive cloud of tiny flying death shrapnel, which would make leaving this planet almost impossible. If you look up how much space debris there is already up there and how many satellites currently orbit, plus the continued growth of the commercial space industry, I think about it a lot. You should read 7Fs. It could get worse. 7Fs takes it to the extreme. Great book. The concept is also explored on a much smaller scale in Peter F. Hamilton's Fallen Dragon. It's not even one of the main points of the story, but basically a planet purposely creates a 7Fs-like event using an asteroid, meaning that, while they can't leave for thousands of years, no one else will be able to get in either. Holy shit, I know Peter F. Hamilton. He was my neighbor about 10 years ago. This visual link that either shows how slow light speed is or how vast space is, depending on which way you look at it. I've seen videos showing the scale of the universe before, but this one really hit home for some reason. The speed of light, the fastest speed possible, looks painfully slow when you look at it in the context of even a fraction of our solar system. We're stuck here, aren't we? Edit, this genuinely seems to trigger some people. So here's a warning: may cause existential dread. Some stars are even bigger than the distance between Mars and us. Imagine. It takes light some time to travel the object producing it. It's crazy. Even crazier is that the photons hitting Earth today are likely hundreds of thousands of years old. It takes them a very long time to make it out of the sun while bumping into shit. Moons haunted. Hive noises. Mobile. Black holes. Ever gone on a road trip and hit a patch where you're just driving for hours and you don't see anything exciting? I've experienced this in Australia, Canada and USA, all very large countries. Imagine doing that for years, traveling to another planet, only to find out that due to a small rounding error, your ship is 1/100th of a degree off, and your century is off course. Vacuum decay link is one of the scariest concepts to me. We don't know if it exists, and we won't know until it's too late. On the other hand, you'll never know. You'll just blink out of existence one day, so nothing to worry about. Either way, nothing really matters. The Great Attractor link. A thing that affects the motion of galaxies for hundreds of millions of light years. It's thought to just be a bigger bunch of galaxies. I went to Google to see if there was a formal name for a cluster of galaxies. Supercluster was what I got. Awesome. I'm just gonna assume they call a cluster of superclusters a super duper cluster, and I'm not gonna go look it up and be proven wrong. Super duper cluster. I like it. Got a ring to it. Hey, Griff, how about that? A cluster of superclusters is actually known as the universe. On the surface of Mars right now is a blur CD. God help us if aliens find that first. Voyager 1 will outlive planet Earth. Edit, wow. Didn't expect this post would generate so much interest. Couple of clarifications. First, I was referring to Voyager 1, not 2 so fixed that. Which is not to say that Voyager 2 won't also outlive planet Earth. Second, my source mentions that it is plausible to imagine that Voyager 1 will outlive our planet given how incomprehensibly vast space really is. You can watch the interesting and rather fun video here, link. Who knows how long that thing will last. Maybe it'll never be found. And love for eons until its atoms begin to decay. Gamma ray bursts. We could be hit by one of these with very little warning. And if it was reasonably close in universal terms anyway, could wipe us out rapidly or cause a ton of damage. Dark matter, dark energy. The fact that about 95% of the universe is made up of matter we can't see or detect is pretty unsettling to think about. Also, while not a fact per se, I like to think that perhaps the answer to the Fermi paradox is that there are billions of advanced alien life forms out there, but they are physically unable to reach us due to technological limitations. Perhaps interstellar transport is only theoretical, and any aliens capable of reaching us are unable to do so in an acceptable length of time. Proxima Centauri may take 25 years for unmanned spacecraft to reach us going 20% the speed of light. But perhaps it's impossible to transport actual life at these speeds without dying. So advanced civilizations have realized the futility of trying to contact other species and have simply given up. Rogue planets, planets that do not follow any given orbit. They may have been in an orbit at one time, but now they refuse to play by the rules. They were most likely knocked out of their orbit by another body, and now they are set on doing the same. There's a strangely artistic movie called Melancholia that has such a planet. That part of it is disturbing. Is it the Lars von Trier film that Mike Stocklesser likes to reference? Yes to the first one, and I don't know who the second one is. I don't even know if I can recommend it, because I still don't know if I even like it. But I've seen it twice and do think von Trier depicts major depressive disorder in a very accurate light. Kristen Dunst kills that role. Since we are on the subject of obscure art house space movies, and because I tend to ramble, I do recommend Another Earth. Super surreal artsy movie that was surprisingly touching. Another Earth is one of 2 movies I have literally said WTF at the end. No spoilers, but I have never been less satisfied at the conclusion of a movie. Edit. The other movie was Skyline. Felt that the movie was going so well until the final 20 minutes or so, and then the production shit the bed. And the credits were done so cheaply that they couldn't even just use the pictures of the cast. I can't accept the fact that there is no end in space, but if there is indeed an end, then what's beyond it? I'm stuck in absurdity. Edit. In the numerous answers I've received, the one that seems to come back the most is the universe is curved. You would end up back where you started. Seems fair enough. Then again, that wouldn't mean there is no limit. On the contrary, that would just mean we are trapped in, or on the surface of a sphere. But there is still a limit to this sphere. So the question remains, what's beyond it? At the end, there is either infinity or nothingness. And what the heck is my little brain supposed to do with that shit? I know, right? Our brains have no way to comprehend it. Like, I try to, but my brain is like no a-hole here. I think the even harder thing to comprehend is the theory that there is no beginning to time. It's just always been. I know we all hate edits, but let me expand on this. We have been conditioned to believe from birth, even regarding our very own personal lives, that there has always been a first anything. Even when it comes to infinity, we all know that pi starts at 3, so there is no first thing that has ever happened in existence. Think about that. Even if it comforts you to know that there was no beginning to time, it's not exactly possible to comprehend. The Boots Void. An area of space where there should be 50,000 or so galaxies compared to other areas of the same size, but there's only about 60. Could just be empty space for some unknown reason. Or it could be an ever-expanding intergalactic empire using Dyson spheres. Also, I think it appears to be growing, but that could just be galaxies moving away from the void. Edit. So it turns out it's 2000 and obviously it's not gonna be aliens, but the theory is still cool as duck. If the Milky Way had been in the center of the Bootes void, we wouldn't have known there were other galaxies until the 1960s. Greg Aldering, astronomer. The sheer distance between things. It's scary and somewhat depressing. It often blows my mind when I look up at 2 stars that look super close together and realize they are probably just as far apart from each other as they are to us. When you look up at the night sky in any urban areas or those with sufficient light pollution, the stars you see, think the constellations and other bright stars with the exception of the super bright blue A-type stars. They are usually no further than 500 light years away. The biggest, brightest non-A-type star in our typical night sky is also one of the biggest discovered in our galaxy, Betelgeuse. At 541 light years from Earth, is it the furthest star in the Orion constellation. Those A-types I mentioned can be seen to about 2,000 light years away. Our galaxy is between 70,000 main core of stars in the limbs and 150,000 the outliers. Before you get to the clouds are the galactic remnants from old collisions light years across. Only seeing those stars that are 500 light years in radius gives us less than 1% of our galaxy to light up our night. Space is unimaginably huge. Edited for clarity. Edit. Thank you all for your kind words and awards. I think everything is terrifying about space, and I ducking love it. But one thing it scare me a lot. It's if space is infinite. Imagine what kind of gigantic monster can be in there. My favorite debate I've ever had with a friend is about gigantic space monsters. I argue that, since space is infinite, and we don't understand much about it, that there's a good chance that there's a gigantic space monster that's just a massive head that eats planets to live. We went back and forth for like 15 minutes. Edit. By the way, I won that debate. Since the universe is expanding, and stars and galaxies are moving away from each other, it's possible that civilizations that spring up in the far future with lonely stars will see an empty sky. Their civilizations will grow and learn, but they will never know the universe that once was. We live in a spectacular time period where we can actually look back in time and see the early universe. Future civilizations won't have that luxury. They'll believe that the universe is, and always was, dark, dead, and empty, aside from their small island of light. With that in mind, you have to wonder what stellar phenomena may have populated the universe billions of years ago, but are now too far away for us to ever detect. There is literally no end to the universe. No matter how long we study it, there will always be stuff that we will never know, just because of the vastness of space. The fact that a city-killing asteroid can slip through our detection systems and kill millions at any moment. The time-gravity relationship. It freaks me out. Oh boy. You have no idea just how crazy that can get. Namely, in black holes. Theoretically, if you were to enter a black hole with a large enough volume, you could actually pass through the event horizon without being crushed. The insane thing about this is what you would experience. As you're going further into the black hole, it would bend around you, and the universe would appear to be a bright bluish sphere behind you, getting smaller as the light waves get more and more compressed. Blue shifting the light. Now here's the crazy part. At the singularity of the black hole, the gravity is so intense that time is at a standstill. Now, theoretically, at this point, you could look behind you at the universe as hundreds, thousands, or even millions of years pass in seconds. If it's strong enough, you could even look behind you as trillions of years pass, and the entire universe dies right before your eyes. That's pretty insane. What was before the Big Bang? I think it is just impossible for a human to comprehend pure nothing or infinity. I myself had a stroke at age 9 due to a ruptured vertebral artery and lost a third of my visual field. I can confirm that it is not black. A good analogy is it is like what you see behind your head. On the other hand, infinity is so large that if you spent your whole life writing a 1 then zeros on paper, that insane number would still be 0% of infinity. I just think there is no way to fully understand the universe, and there never will be. This is why even ancient societies explain things with gods, because they didn't understand how the reality we live in started, and I don't think we ever will. Astronomer here. There are a lot of things posted here that are not really likely to happen anytime soon, or affect your life on Earth much. So, if you want something to worry about, may I introduce you to the Carrington event of 1859. Link. Basically, Carrington was a scientist who noticed a flash from a huge cluster of sunspots, which was the biggest coronal mass ejection from the sun ever recorded. A ton of material ejected from the sun at high speeds. It hit Earth within a day. Aurora were seen as far south as Hawaii. Wires on telephone poles burst into flame, and telegraph operators even reported contacting each other when not connected. If a similar event were to strike Earth today, it would cause billions of dollars in damage. Because blown transformers are super hard to replace, and a lot of satellites wouldn't be able to handle it, and it goes without saying you'd have a serious radio blackout for a bit, until it ended on a ton of essential frequencies. The crazy thing about the Carrington event though is we really have no idea how often such events happen. But we do know that in 2012 there was a Carrington level solar flare that barely missed Earth. Link. Edit for those making next in 2020 jokes. This is not super likely this year. We do know these biggest flares happen during solar maximum. The sun has an 11-year cycle of sunspots and the period with the most is solar maximum. We are just coming out of minimum, so the next maximum would be 2025, 2026 or so. However, we really don't know how common these big flares are. Interestingly, data from other stars shows they seem to be much more common around other stars than our own, with huge implications for life in some cases. Edit to apparently this was on a YouTube channel this week coincidentally. You don't need to be the 100th person chiming in to mention it. The Great Attractor is kinda ominous. There's an exoplanet with wind that's many times the speed of sound, and that rains glass. Another exoplanet that has spent time inside its star. There's a sort of fear that we aren't alone in the universe. Chances are anything we meet won't have remotely similar emotional spectrums that we have. Then there's a horrifying notion that we are alone in that infinite blackness. That we are just a fluke of chemistry that will probably never happen again. Edit. More people have died on Earth than have died on the Sunday spook. The fact that an asteroid could come at any time. And even though we have the technology to tell us that an asteroid is about to impact Earth, what can we really do about it? Nothing. We can do nothing. We can just sit here with the media stations telling us what will happen, telling our friends and loved ones goodbye, praying, etc. It sucks. Why do we have the technology that tells us our inevitable doom is days, or even moments, away but no technology to possibly stop it? Edit words. It's bigger than anyone could ever hope to comprehend. Eat death. That one keeps me up at night. Edit to okay, so apparently these maps turned out to be inaccurate, but still kinda cool to know anyway. Besides, at least if we do destroy ourselves one day, at least there will be some small memory of us out there for someone to find. We have sent out maps of how to find the Earth, based on maps that show where our sun is, relative to pulsars. If anyone finds our probes, it's likely they will be able to find us. I don't think it's scary that alien race will find these and come to destroy us. I think any species with the technology to seek us out would be completely unthreatened by what we have. What I fear is they gift us technology and we use it to destroy ourselves. Edit. If anyone's curious, the pulsar map was first sent out in 1972 on the Pioneer 10 space probe. It has been sent out a further 3 times. The third and fourth times were on the Voyager space probes as part of the Voyager Golden Record link. This included lots of images and audio of the human race. Carl Sagan wanted to put a Beatles song on it, but hilariously EMI declined on copyright grounds.